guys, welcome back to another video. Well, fun stuff today, and finally an answer, or more or less an answer to a question that everyone has been asking. How many non-domiciled CDLs have been issued? Thanks to Overdrive and the research they did recently and a report they released yesterday, we now have a better idea or a better answer to that question. So that's exactly what we are going to be talking about today. Ready? Let's go. So as I already said, yesterday Overdrive released an article and attached a 20-page report of the CDL, non-domiciled CDL issuances by state. I will attach a link down below to that article where you can then download that report. But for now, let's go through the results. And the first thing I want to note is what exactly is a non-domiciled CDL. The common misconception is if it's a non-domiciled CDL, it must be issued to someone who is on a temporary status in the United States. This is not always the case. Non-domiciled CDLs can sometimes be issued to US citizens. And the way this happens is, for example, if you live, let's say, in the state of Idaho, but you get your CDL from a state like California. For what reason, I have no idea, but you get your CDL from California. Since you are not domiciled in California, you're not a resident of California, you are a resident of Idaho, you would be issued a non-domiciled CDL from the state of California. And this is also backed up by the data that Overdrive found. However, something to note is the percentage of non-domiciled CDLs issued to US citizens is minuscule. So finding number one, Overdrive found that there are 7 states that absolutely never issue non-domiciled CDLs. Those states are Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, West Virginia, Rhode Island, and New Hampshire. They just don't issue that type of CDL. All the other states that are not listed, they do issue non-domiciled CDLs. However, not all of them keep track of the data. The states that do not keep track of their data are California, Nevada, Colorado, Nebraska, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Virginia, Kentucky, North Carolina, and Georgia. They issue them, they just don't keep track of them. So now let's go through the data state by state. But in order not to bore you with that walkthrough, in order to make it more concise, I made charts and we will briefly discuss them. Now, in order to make the data as clear as possible, I added 2 numbers from the states that provided data, which is the non-domiciled CDLs that are newly issued, plus those that were renewed. This will not always tell us how many active non-domiciled CDLs there are in each state, but it will give us an idea of what the trend looks like. So I'm going to be attaching the chart right here and let's talk through it. I'm looking at it on my computer. So first of all, this chart is showing all states that issued the non-domiciled CDLs, issued or renewed. And as you can see, regardless of state, for the most part, there is a pattern. And the pattern is that there is an increasing number of these non-domiciled CDLs until 2024. And then from 2024 to 2025, there is a drop. Part of the reason for this is, of course, that 2025 is not done yet, so we don't have all the data. Next, we have this chart, which shows basically state by state. And as you can see, again, there is a very clear trend. In most cases, it shows growth. But why don't we take a look at what the totals are? Now, for the totals, the chart is right here. This doesn't mean that all of these CDLs are active. It just shows you how many CDLs were issued and renewed over the years by state. And it tells you who is issuing more and who is issuing less. So let's go through it. As you can see, Texas is the top issuer of non-domiciled CDLs at around 51,000 over the years. However, they claim that only 8,507 are currently active. Then we have Florida, then Illinois, and finally Pennsylvania and Maryland. Again, I repeat, a non-domiciled CDL is not always issued to a non-citizen, right? It's just that the percentage of the ones issued to US citizens is very, very small. Now, in terms of percentage, according to Overdrive, there are the top 3 states that issue the most non-domiciled CDLs relative to regular CDLs. Number 1 is Illinois, where non-domiciled CDLs make up 40% of all CDLs issued in that state. Number 2 is Florida, 32%, and number 3 is the state of Washington with 16%. Now, Overdrive stated, and I quote, "Non-domiciled CDL issuance has increased quickly among the majority of states that provided data. Louisiana, for example, issued just 20 non-domiciled CDLs in 2021. In 2024, the state issued 172. Iowa issuance has crept up from just 0.35% of non-domiciled CDLs issued compared to regular CDLs to more than 2% in 2024. And then between 2022 and 2024, in particular, the numbers jump in a lot of states like Missouri, where non-domiciled CDL issuance rose from 306 to 961. Now, as always, I'm going to put all of those charts that I showed you on my website under market data, where you can play around with the charts, take a look at it more in depth. And I'm also going to, of course, attach the link to that Overdrive article with the 20-page report. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining and watching. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep learning. And by the way, the market update video is coming tomorrow. It's going to be on Fridays from now on. See you in the next video.